Would like to wish everyone out there a very happy Hurricane Election Tuesday from the currently not so sunny state of Florida. It is 8 November 2022, roughly 13:30 hours. That is, of course, 1:30 p.m. for those of you in the civilian world. It is about 76 degrees, cloudy, overcast. We had some pretty good rain last night, so the storm is on its way. Would also like to say thank you to everyone who continues to join us over at the Patreon channel, where last night we dropped a brand new video. And this is one that you're not going to want to miss, because we deal directly with what's going to happen right after the election, and we show the techniques and how they can prove to you that without a doubt the moon is made of green cheese. Now some might say, blue cheese? Brie? Swiss? It's so cold in space, could it not be frozen yogurt? Well, one thing we know, the moon is, of course, always tied to dairy products. Because what do cows say? Moon. They continually look up in the sky and go, moon. So we know that can't possibly be a coincidence. Also, if you look up in the sky at night, the sky is black and the moon is white, just like dairy cows. So that pretty much tears it. It's all tied together. The moon is clearly made of dairy products. Now, that's just the beginning of what's going to be going on in the mainstream media over the next, I'd say all the way through the end of the holidays. They're going to explain why, of course, the Republicans that are going to sweep into office in the House and the Senate and governor's races everywhere, they're going to be the Grinch. They're going to be the big Grinch that stole Christmas, because every bad thing that happens after that is going to be their fault. Just like every bad thing that's happened for the last 2 years has been the current president's fault. But those who want you to worship the office of the president, no matter who, they win. Because whether it's good or whether it's bad, as long as you're acknowledging the most important thing, which is that it's the president and the government's job to be in charge of good and bad, then they win long term. And that's how that works. Now, as far as the storm goes, the one off the coast here, heading for Florida, trackthetropics.com. That's where we always go. It's the best source on the internet for virtually any information you would want regarding any storm, any time of year, whether it's November or not. They have NOAA floaters. They have projected paths, wind speeds, virtually anything you would want, nearby radar loops, storm surge forecasts. Let's see, which one did I bring up here? Yeah, we got some pretty good rain last night, and we've had on and off wind, but I wanted to share something with you guys real quick. A lot of the graphics that you're going to see are going to kind of cover up Florida a little bit, so it's like, well, yeah, it's going to southeast Florida, but I had made the allegation in yesterday's video that it was going directly for Mar-a-Lago. I know sometimes that's very difficult to see. This is one of the best graphics that I've seen where they've made the center part invisible. They're saying this storm is going to be a Category 1 hurricane by the time it reaches Florida. And they show where it is. A lot of people look at Florida and they go, I know the president's place down here in Mar-a-Lago is somewhere. I'm not exactly sure where it is. What's the trick to finding it? Well, there's a real easy trick. All you need to do is, if you're zoomed out, is find the most extreme southern coast of Lake Okeechobee. And you can see Lake Okeechobee from way, way up. Giant lake, middle of southern Florida. And draw a straight line from basically Fort Myers all the way across to the other side, to the southeastern coast, Florida. As long as that line doesn't cross Okeechobee and it's right across the southern tip, you'll end up smack dab right in the middle of Mar-a-Lago. And let me show you guys this. Okay, so here's the southern tip. There's Belglade. You're going to intersect a road and a canal here. And if you go right in, you'll see Palm Beach Zoo and Conservation Society. You'll see Palm Beach Airport. And as you zoom in, that line takes you directly to just north of the highway here. This is Mar-a-Lago right here. So when you zoom out, just draw that perfect straight line from Mar-a-Lago directly across the state of Florida It'll intersect the extreme southern tip of Lake Okeechobee and take you directly over to Fort Myers. So that's how you can tell by looking. So when you go back and you look at where they're saying this is going to land, they've moved it a little bit farther north now, so it's a little bit closer to Jupiter. But yesterday they had it smacking literally right into Mar-a-Lago. They had it kind of making this curve, and you can't even really see Lake Okeechobee here, but they had it going literally right over the top. But anyway, there was another hurricane, by the way, named Nicole back in 2016, and it defied prediction. It was supposed to have been destroyed by wind shear. They didn't think it was going to even develop into a hurricane, and it ended up becoming a Category 4 hurricane that hit Bermuda. Now, it didn't come anywhere near Florida, but it's the same name, and this is only, 7 years ago? 6 years ago? So, something else to keep an eye on. But I know it's been a while since we've talked about Antarctica directly at this channel. There's some new finds that I'd like to, well, they're actually old finds, but looking at them again in a different light, I think is going to prove something about what's going on underneath the ice sheet. That's really the key. Many people say Florida Maquis, it's wind, ice, rock, and snow. Everything that you're seeing is just shadows of wind, ice, rock, and snow. I just have an incredibly difficult time believing this. Now, this is from another video that we did some time back. You have these perfectly symmetrical openings to beneath the ice sheet with these great platforms where you can zoom in real close and you can see what looks like some type of craft or activity right near the openings. Let's zoom this back out. Here's a couple of them. Now, strangely enough, a lot of people think that what I talk about is myth and fantasy. Well, the entire continent of Antarctica was a myth all the way up until 1860. Just to give you for reference, Florida, St. Augustine, has been here since 1565. 300 years almost. You could have lived in Florida and the idea of Antarctica would have been a myth. And these giant caverns that are underneath, I don't know if you can see the small figure here. These were a myth right up until about 5 years ago, when they've discovered them now. Almost 1,000 feet tall, 6-7 miles long. You could take off an aircraft and fly around inside these caverns. That's how big they are. Not a myth. Complete reality. They just haven't gotten people down there on the ground to get the good actual photos. That's why there's artist representation. But this is what I wanted to talk about today. These are two very old finds that, when I first saw them, to me, they immediately looked artificial. And they're two different locations. These aren't two images of the same thing, just in different years. What you're looking at, side by side, are two different locations in Antarctica where you have this strange structure, this cone-shaped structure that looks like some type of a tunnel down to beneath the ice sheet. And here's the kicker. They're identical in size and in shape. I took the time earlier to measure around the outside, and they are both almost to the foot, 1,700 feet around, which is really strange given the odd shape of this. Let's go down to Antarctica real quick and I'll show you. Let's go to the first one, pardon me. This puts us in about the 9 o'clock region. And I have the outline all set here for you. There's clearly some evidence of construction here. Let me zoom this around. Look at this heading west. I'll click off my line real quick. When you look at the upper left-hand corner, you can see some very strange, non-natural objects and what looks like some type of human activity right on the top corner here. And as you work your way down to the end here, I don't know if you guys can see this, but look right here where I'm circling very closely. There's some type of a U or a backwards C structure right here. See how much closer I can get in without the thing kicking down to zoom. Whatever this is, it's not natural. And I will give you down in the, by the way, I will give you, of course, down in the description or in the first pinned comment, either one, the location where you can go download Google Earth Pro for yourself. It's very easy to do. And you can go to this location and you can do all the things that I do and measure it all the way around. I'll click the line back on, and then I'll go to properties, and it shows path measure 1, measurements. This one, I have it, it's 1,713 feet around. So this is the first one. Let's go to the second one. The second one is over at about 5 o'clock. If you were looking at Antarctica as a clock with the peninsula directly up. Now, once again, this one, you can tell beneath it, there's something below that's causing a change in the ice above. And you can see these very strange paths. One starts here and goes out to some kind of a platform. There's another one here. And when you look very, very closely down over here, you can see another saucer craft. We had found 2 others in a completely different location. But measuring this, the part that's sticking out above the ice, let's take a look at its properties. Measurements, 1,706 feet. So roughly 97, 98% identical. And I think that's well within the margin of error. Given the shape, given the very strange, almost, I hate to use the term, but if you would turn it this way, it almost kind of looks like a wizard hat shape, where you've got the brim down here and of, the Gandalf big giant tall wizard hat looking thing. Got the top where the cone kind of lays over a little bit. Best way to describe it, I guess. So I just don't know how you explain this with wind, ice, rock, and snow. And when you look also along the side here, you see some very, very strange, non-natural carvings in the ice. These seem rectangular, but it also seems like it looks like the head, 2 forearms, and 2 rear legs, and this just doesn't seem natural, guys. Especially, when you zoom out and you look at everything around it. This is, of course, this is just a mountain right here. A couple of rocks sticking up next to a glacier. Very much what you would expect if you zoomed in and looked at Antarctica. But this? No, not natural. Not in the least. So, anyway, humbly, I submit, what do you guys think? And like I said, I put together these 2 pictures to show them side by side. Virtually identical, not anywhere near each other, a lot of the same features, and surrounded by things and covered by things that clearly can't be explained by the wind and snow. So, anyway, but once again, track the tropics if you want to keep an eye on the storms tonight as far as the election goes. Like I said, clearly, if you go over to patreon.com and you listen to our arguments, you'll say that, well, we can't completely rule out dairy products being the source of the moon's shape and color. We can't rule that out. We need to hear all sides. All truth should be out there. Everybody's opinion should be able to be seen as just as relevant and just as valuable as everyone else's opinion. So whether you're a blue cheese moon believer or a green cheese moon believer or frozen yogurt, or whether you clearly understand that, cows have some fetish for the moon because that's all they ever say. Moon, moon. That's all they ever say. So you have to take those arguments and treat them just as, seriously as any other argument. Because that's what freedom of speech is. So I'll leave it there. God bless. Like, share, subscribe, and we'll see you guys next time.